Welcome to another episode of the Loadout Music Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with a wide range of music personalities, from rock and roll Hall of Famers to Grammy winners and today's rising stars. Recorded from the Old Rock House in St. Louis, Missouri, here's your host, Aaron Perlut.
Welcome back to the Loadout Music Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Aaron Perlut. You know, today's guest is a real special one. They are rap royalty, and in fact, the term hip-hop came from their song Rapper's Delight. They capped 2023, which was the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, with an amazing performance at Live at the Print Shop. You can find it on YouTube really easily. And all of it started with a crispy crust of pizza in Englewood, New Jersey. Make my mom and my wife proud. They are the Sugarhill gang, and we welcome them to the Loadout Music Podcast. Fellas, what is up?
Hey, what's happening? What's happening?
All right, just for the record, you know, we got DJ T-dynasty, we got N.W.A, we got Master G, and Wonder Mike may be joining us at some point if you know, he and his wife can figure out how to work a computer. That's still debatable. But, yeah. You know,
and welcome to our world.
Yeah. You know what? Every band, there's always one. With mine, it's our drummer. You know, you never know when he's going to show up and what state he's going to be. But
there you go.
When Mike gets here, he gets here, man.
There you go.
Yeah. So you know, it's funny. Before we started recording, we were talking about the last, you know, when I saw you guys perform, and what a great moment that was, because it was kind of the beginning to what's happening now. And you guys are having a phenomenal renaissance. But I would like to start kind of back in the day, and I kind of referenced at the beginning. You know, the one person who's not with us, obviously, is Big Bank Hank. Was one of your fellow founders. Now, he used to work. My understanding was he worked at the pizza shop where you guys met, and he used to sing there, and he would sing as he would work, and that kind of ultimately drove to, I guess it was auditions in a car out.
Yes.
Tell us about how did the band initially come together?
So we knew Hank because he made pizza at Crispy Crust. So Mike was in the area. I was growing up, raised in the Englewood, Hackensack, Teaneck area. So we knew about Hank. So Crispy Crust was like a spot for us in the neighborhood. We went there for pizza. And so the night that Miss Robinson initially was turned down by the person that they had chose to do the song, the night that happened, somebody said that the guy in the pizza parlor could rap. So they were in front of the pizza parlor, and Hank had come out of the pizza parlor, was in Joey Robinson, rest his soul, and Miss Robinson, rest her soul. Hank was in the car with them. And so when I walked up into the situation, the guy that I was with, he told them that I could rap. So they were like, oh, well, we want to hear you. So I got in the back of the car. Then we all went up to the house. And again, like I've told the story a lot of times, we thought it was going to be one person. So I thought we were in competition. So Hank and I were kind of like going back and forth. By the end of the night, Miss Robinson had already heard Mike on the tape, but she didn't like what she heard at the time. But he asked her if he would listen to her one more time. Told her that he had a cold, he wasn't in his best form that night on the tape that she heard. So she listened to him as well. And so 3 being her favorite number, she said, rather than choose between the 3 of you, I'll put the 3 of you together. And that's how we got.
But the big question is, was Mike just full of shit? Was he really not sick at all? And
no, he said, yeah. No, he was, yeah. No, trust me, yeah. Turned out to be part of the legacy of Wonder Mike.
Mm-hmm. Was since you were going there thinking that you were competing for one spot, was there any tension amongst the 3 of you, or was it just like, you know, whatever happens?
Well, initially, again, through the whole evening, was only Hank and myself. Because Mike, he actually was just there. He wasn't even in the competition at the time. It was Hank and myself, and we were going back and forth. At the end of the night, he asked Miss Robinson to listen to him again. So he never said one word during the time Hank and I were, you know, doing our thing. And competition-wise, I never really looked at it like that. I was kind of, you know, always kind of balls to the wall anyway. And so I just felt like, you know, it's all or nothing. It's going to be me and him at the end of the day. And I was just doing my thing and let the best man win. That's the way I looked at it.
Mike just came along with his DJ. That's the reason why Mike was there.
And you guys just, I mean, you kind of exploded on the scene, on the popular music scene out of nowhere.
No question.
I mean, and next thing you know, you're like on Solid Gold and American Bandstand and chilling
Soul
with
Train.
you. And so, yeah, Soul Train and Don Cornelius,
Yes.
Wonderama. I mean, you guys were very young men at the time. Like, what's that like at that point in your life? You know, is it just like this is insane? I mean, did you get caught up in it, or were you able to be like, you know, let's just enjoy this ride while we're on it? Like, what was that like? I mean, I imagine you had to be pretty measured with yourself.
That's a very good question. I was 17 when Rappers Delight exploded, and Hank and Mike were both 22. So they were older than I was. They were more adults. They were already already men. You know, I was still pretty much a kid getting ready to go into that phase. There's no way that you can prepare for meteoric attention, you know. And like you said, I literally went from being a Englewood, New Jersey high school kid who did parties in people's basement to the hottest teen idol in the world. You know what I mean? Like, there was no group hotter than Sugarhill Gang in 1979. No group, period. You name it, nobody. So that was, and everything that's connected to that kind of fame, I call it white hot fame. Everything that you see today, every artist, any artist, rock and roll, hip hop, whatever, the whole fans, crazy girls, this, that, all of that happened to us. Everything. So what you do is you do your best to navigate through the craziness. Fortunately, in my case, I had a pretty good foundation. My mother was a really grounded person, and I had been around entertainers to a certain degree and musicians as a kid. So I was able to kind of adjust, but at the same time, it still pulled my wig back. You know, I mean, like you go into the bathroom and somebody comes in the bathroom while you're at the urinal, and they're blown out. Their mind is blown because it's you. And you know, literally 6 months ago, you were figuring out whether or not you was going to graduate high school. You know, I mean, literally, that was my reality. You know, so you do the best that you can do. And in my situation, and I don't know about, I can't speak for Mike or Hank, but what I did after a while is I started looking for what was real and what was superficial. So, and I realized that when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. And when I learned that concept and I understood that concept, it kind of helped me come back to earth, because I levitated for a minute. I ain't gonna lie to you, you know.
Yeah.
I was walking on water, literally. I mean, so yeah, that would be the best way to answer that.
And walk me through kind of like the evolution of the band. So, you know, you break out there in the late 70s, and what were the 80s and even the 90s like for the band until you guys took a break and it became something different. Like the band became a brand beyond not really just a band. But walk me through, like, to the point where you guys separated from the brand of Sugarhill Gang.
So 79, the record hit. Okay, summer 79. By September, we were everywhere, you know, all over, like you said. So you got 79, 80, 81. 81, we released H Wonder, was a big record for us, R&B. 82, 83. So by 83, we were like one of the hottest bands out, you know. Right around 84, 85, things started getting really weird. We started realizing things weren't really working out like they wanted to. I had gotten to a point where I got a little bit more educated and informed. I wanted to make some things happen and I couldn't. So at that point, hip hop and rap music itself was not where it is now, where there was so many different avenues. So because I didn't feel like it was going the way that I wanted it to go, I made a decision to walk away. So I left in 1985. So from 85 to 2005, that transition of the group becoming, you know, a touring band, doing different events, um, occasional television appearances, and that such. So, and Mike and Hank stayed in that unit. So it wasn't
they're still performing
right.
in with the band, but you at that point you had left. You got into, I believe, publishing.
Magazine industry. Yes,
Yeah.
I built and operated and owned door-to-door sales companies all over the United States. Yes. So I went and knocked on doors and sold books and magazines at 23. And by the time I was 30, I had, pretty much done a really good job at building those businesses.
Yeah. And so how I guess, how did the band, it seemed like, to your point, rap was a very interesting space because in the mid 80s, because it was still a new phenomenon, but then you had, still your brand name was there. You had like LL Cool J, and you had the gangster rap from LA, and it just that's when rap grew into a business, really, right?
Yes. So that's the thing. So it continued to evolve from, because initially us being the first commercially successful group, the world heard our music, Curtis Blow, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and then it just started picking up from there. And then, like you said, it made its way to LA and down to, Florida. And so it started building and building. Run DMC continued to build. By the 90s, LL Cool J, Kool Moe Dee, it started to be, in television commercials and movies. By that time, it became a juggernaut, became that business. And it became multidimensional for people to be able to make moves.
I'm real curious about something. So as you're kind of sitting on the sideline doing something completely different and working in business, but I'm sure you were still paying attention to what was happening in the music landscape. Race is always an element in this country, no matter how much we'd like to say no, it's not, or what have you. The topical nature of what was being rapped about began to evolve as well. And it went from rapping about like partying and having fun to message about community policing and real like important conversations. It's just that some people didn't like the tone or how it was being said, and that didn't matter. But as you're looking at it from the outside looking in, are you thinking to yourself, these brothers over here are actually bringing forward a really important message? Or are you thinking to yourself, I'm worried about the perception that's happening with the industry that maybe your heart might have still been in? How did you look at that? I'm just curious.
That's another good question. I looked at it from the perspective of two avenues. One because I am a business person. I build businesses. I developed the knack to do that. So from a business perspective, I saw how it was being driven by the consumer. So the market was only letting happen what it was going to bear. So that was first thing. So I saw that. And then I also knew that as it got into different areas, I was a suburb kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, I grew up in the New York metropolitan area, but I grew up in the suburbs. Yeah. So, my thought process is get a date, have a party, let's have a good time. But if you go now to South Central LA, where, here's an individual and he's trying to keep his head from getting, blown off or whatever the case may be, or you got the Bronx where, it was really, hard times, it's going to reflect the voice of the people. So I understood what was being said. I mean, if you go back into, the days of Motown and Marvin Gaye, when, Marvin Gaye wanted to talk about what was going on in his life, the war was going on. So what any creative person does that has the floor and the ability to be able to put words and music together or be able to write a script and film a movie or a television show, you look at every aspect of that. Art imitates life. And so it's just the fact that the music was so new, but the formula was traditional. Art was imitating life, and it still does to this day.
Still do. Yep, no question about that.
Sir.
And then you got the powers that be that manipulated that art. And
well, that's what I was talking about as far as business. You know, the consumer. You know, the business driving. You know, they're going with what the company. So the consumer want what was going on. So the record companies are letting it happen.
Yep.
So yeah, it got riskier. Yeah, it got riskier and riskier and riskier because you know that's what the public wanted. It's just like television. You know, you went from ABC, regular G-rated television to now cable television comes on and you can have soft porn. I mean, everything happened in a way where the demand became stronger, so the supply became longer.
Yeah. Well, and then you also had the growth in celebrity. You had that slow growth in celebrity of a lot of the rap stars from the 80s and 90s, Ice-T, Ice Cube.
Right.
I mean, these guys started to become celebrities, and even, Snoop Dogg today,
Yes.
in ways beyond the rap industry. And I think largely helped, continue to legitimize the industry,
100%.
by succeeding.
Well, that's because it shifted. So because when I first started making music, that's all you could do. You made an album and you toured. That was it. The only time you were seen on television or you were seen in a situation where you could be looked at by millions was a dance show. Soul Train, Solid Gold, yada yada. If you were somebody crazy meteoric like a Jackson's or the Osmonds or something, you might have got a television special, or you ended up in a situation like that. But when rap started becoming marketable, when big business started realizing there was hundreds of millions of dollars in this art form. Now here you go, yes, man, do a movie. So this is LL becoming a celebrity because he was in the sweet spot. He was in the curve. Yep. So yeah, okay, we want you to do a television show now. Yeah, because the only reason why LL is who he is today is because they realized it was going on. So when they looked at the situation and they said, okay, well, who can we get? Because now we realize we need rap people in television shows. We need them in movies. We need them in commercials. Absolutely. They started dealing with the people that was there. So you're looking at early 90s to the 2000s. And who do you have? LL, Ice Cube, Snoop,
Will Smith.
Will Smith. You have all of these people in that sweet spot. And that's what happened. They were chosen. It wasn't like it just happened. No, the big business, once again, I'll keep going back. From a business standpoint, anytime an industry makes hundreds of millions of dollars, corporate America wants part of that because that's how they sell their product. Everything is bought or sold in this world. And that's basically what they wanted to do.
I mean, who would have thought that somebody like Travis Scott would do a deal with McDonald's? Kids go to McDonald's, buy McDonald's, they get a Travis Scott doll. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's one of the funny things about like Ice Cube's career is fascinating. In that
meteoric,
one of the original gangster rap guys who's doing kids movies.
What am I talking about?
Yeah, and G, to your point, you talked about kind of the evolution of consumer choice and the consumer voice being heard by those decisions. I think it's emblematic. What we're talking about is emblematic of that. Like the consumers are basically through their pocketbooks of going to shows, buying music. I mean, it'd be funny to go back to, one of the titans of CEOs of the 80s. Like, I know he's not alive anymore. Like take Lee Iacocca and say, hey,
exactly.
You think Dr. Dre would be a billionaire today? And, after Dre's done so many business deals, with selling Beats by Dre's to Apple. I mean, it's remarkable, like how far rap has come in a pretty short time. If you think about like other genres of music that took much longer to evolve and get where they are today.
Yeah,
I'll give you a for instance. We wrote and recorded a commercial for Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola is what it's called. The drink that will quench your thirst in the spring, summer, winter, and fall. When you drink Coke, you're too cool to sweat. You can walk in the rain and not get wet. It's like drinking solid gold because Coke adds life to the young and old. We wrote that commercial. We sent that commercial to Coca-Cola. They thought we heard crickets, literally heard crickets. Never got a response back. No, and we were the hottest group on the planet. Now we'll roll the script back. Now we take it to the 90s, and what's going on? Who's doing commercials?
Right.
You just said Travis Scott with McDonald's. Right. It's all driven by corporate America.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember when Will Smith, he was the first rap artist to win a Grammy, right? They didn't show it on TV.
Right. Yeah. And
he was the first one to become popular doing it. And when they gave him his shot, sitcom, please, he tore it up. They were like, "Oh, we could do this."
Yeah,
it makes sense.
And speaking of Will Smith, I remember, I recall, I think it was your song, the band song Apache, that he did on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes.
In I think it was maybe 99, somewhere in the 90s, but it was another one of those moments that there are these things that have always kept the band's brand alive. So, take us, I guess, to 2005. What was the point? We go to 2005 and
where I came back.
Yeah, but you guys kind of regrouped and reclaimed kind of what was rightfully yours to a degree. But I mean, everyone came back together at the very least, because I don't know how long Wonder Mike stayed with the band, but yeah, everything seemed to re-energize in 05.
So here's the deal. The deal is that between 85 and 2005, it was being run completely by, the person was no longer here, Joey Robinson. He had that situation going, and Mike and Hank was in and out of that situation. Diamond, T-Dynasty, and Hen, they were part of that situation. Mike made a decision in 2005 to step away from that existing entity, and he made a call to me. Mike and I were always friends and remained friends through the whole time that I was not a part of it. And I always had to deal with him that anything he ever wanted to do, I would do. So he called me in 2005, and that's what happened. He said, "Listen, man, I'm not working with the label anymore, but there's some people that's interested in us, and they want to do something, but they won't do it unless you're involved." That's what was my decision to come check it out. At that point, that's when Hen became who he is, and Diamond became who he is, and we formed this chapter of Sugarhill Gang.
Right.
From that moment to what you see now is the struggles, the hustles, the ups and the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because again, for 20 years, there was full reign to do whatever they wanted to do with the brand. Right. Now, here comes a situation that now is defying whatever that brand was putting out to the public, and they didn't like it. So that's when the war started. So that's why we always call 2005 to 2015 the war, because that we were at war from that point, and the war was to shut us down. We weren't supposed to do what we were doing. We weren't with that. How dare we?
Right.
How dare we, Michael Wright and Guy O'Brien, with these two guys that were just traveling around doing T-shirts and mimicking lyrics. How dare you guys, be who it is that that you are, but we don't want people to know that who you are. And so that's what happened.
Yeah, and so Hen Dog and T-Dynasty, was it 05 when you guys joined?
No, Henry, we've been around for about 28 years now with the group. When G left, the group dissolved for a number of years. When it reformed, it went out for a little while, and then 2 years later, Henry and I, Henry was a producer, and myself, and we wound up in the group at that point. And we traveled with the group until Mike's departure. And when he departed with us. It's been one hell of a ride.
Yeah. How do you and then G, I get how you and Mike kind of kept things strong. How do you make sure you guys, like the four of you together today, who really comprise the entity, the enterprise, the foundation, how did you keep that brotherhood strong? Because it's, I mean, like, I've been in business, when things are hard, you guys scrap with each other. It's a bitch, and it's tough. How'd you guys keep together over this past 18 years as you're trying to kind of put this train back on the tracks and reclaim what's rightfully yours, the brand name?
Well,
well,
okay.
Go ahead, go ahead, Dick.
Number one thing is that first, we're all family. We love each other as brothers. You know what I mean? That's number one.
Yep.
And number two,
Paramount.
And number two, we stay in our own lane. You know what I mean?
Woo!
We don't, we make sure like one person is good at this, one person is good at that, another person is good as this. You know what I mean? We don't, it's a democracy. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do everything or I control everything or whatever the case may be. And that's how we were able to just keep doing what we're doing.
So what we realized and what we understood early on, okay, is that we all have a job to do and we all have a job to get done. And at the end of the day, the job is to win. The job is to do what it is that we've been given the ability to do. We've been given a gift to be able to perform, record, film, tour, and everybody's dream is that thing. Diamond and Hen, they were aspiring producers, like they said. So they had aspirations to, have that, success. Mike wanted to be able to rightfully do his thing. I had stepped away, and yes, I was successful as a business person, but personally and passionately, I was depressed and deprived. I wanted to do my thing. I call it do my magic act. And then the most important thing is I wanted to do it with the best friend that I've ever had and, continue to have for, no matter what was going on. So a lot of it was driven by those facts. The financial aspect is the ultimate goal. If you do something well, and you do, and the business of what you do is taken care of, then you are financially going to succeed.
The W and the O and
wow.
the N.
Oh, we're saying yeah, we're doing it real big. What's up?
Now we're going big time here.
Right. Now we got the real deal. But so so that's what I'm saying. So if you do something well,
blah blah blah.
Here we go. And the financial aspect of it is taken care of, then it's gonna benefit. But the essence of the whole thing is, we're the people's champ. And so that's what also has driven us to where we are today. We have always believed in the fans because the fans have always believed in us, in our performance, in the integrity of what we do, of how we carry ourselves. So that's the nucleus of what's going on. That's why we're still here and we'll be here until this guy got on the thing, and then I'm done.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, for our listeners, it's important to note that Wonder Mike has just joined us. And Mike, I want to catch you up real fast. The fellas said that like we've been carrying his sorry ass for like
definitely. Thank you.
For a long time. He might be he might be tall, but we've been carrying.
But no, hell yeah.
Wow.
WWODNDER. What's up, man?
What up, y'all?
Hey, Mike.
Mike, we were talking about, G talked about the years between 2005 and 2015 as being like a decade of conflict where you guys were trying to really reclaim what was rightfully yours. And I know you had kind of stepped away and asked Master G to come back. Talk about that period, because I've heard you guys talk about your brother and how tight, particularly the two of you are. But that must have been a real challenging period for you from like 05 to 15.
Actually, Guy was with us 05 to 15.
That's what he's saying, Mike. He's asking you that. Like, what was your mindset?
Like,
yeah. What was your mindset?
I tell you what, the way I think, I don't put any undue hardships on myself. If there's a challenge in life, deal with it. That's all. Deal with it, and don't run away from it. Just deal with it. And that's just what we did. So it didn't seem like a hardship to me. It was just another period to go through that we had to iron out some things.
So that was very good, Mike.
We appreciate you reading from the book of Socrates there as you,
oh, this guy's funny.
But I'm not messing with any of that.
But Mike, you stepped away in 2005, right?
No.
Mike, you stepped away from the label. You called me in 2005.
Oh, from the label.
Yes.
I didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah, I stepped away from the label, and me and Guy recruited a Diamond and N.W.A, and we just went from there because we've known each other like collectively. I added it up last night. It's about 180 years that we've known each other.
Mm. Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. Wow.
Yep. Black don't crack though, baby.
Gee, I would imagine, the period you were kind of sitting on the sideline was the period where just the music industry itself became something that it had never been. Whereas up until the late 90s, dollars could still be generated through record sales, and records were a thing, and CDs. And you come back in 2005 when it's become digital units and
download, streaming.
Yes. You're like, I'm in a different country? I'm working in a different country now.
Fortunately, because I stayed relevant in a business setting, and I did business with a younger generation of people.
Blah, blah, blah.
See, here we go. See, this is what I got to deal with. But the fact that I was doing that, and I also had 2 young children also, I saw all of that happening. I saw, and I understood, downloads, and I understood the electrical, and I saw the transition from, analog to digital. And so I paid attention to it. I wasn't privy to it participation wise. I was more of a student of everything that was happening. So I had a good take on what was happening. It wasn't like I walked into it and was like, oh my God, where am I? Did I land on another planet? I was very aware of, what was happening. I just wasn't in the mix until 2005.
Yeah, we tried, but he found out anyway.
So was it, I think it was it in 2016 that Big Bang Hank passed from cancer?
No, 2013.
Damn, 13?
Yeah, he passed away 2013.
Yeah.
What day? Because 10 years is last year. Damn it, I didn't know that.
So that must have been, I'm sure, again, you all have talked about this being a brotherhood from day one.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been incredibly hard. How do you, and there's some other bands doing that right now, like the Eagles are still trying to move on with. He's got his kid playing guitar.
Right.
How do you do that? For someone who's never been in that situation, someone who's like a foundational element of what you are. How do you do that, guys?
Well, I had a military father, and there's no excuses, and that's not a hard thing to do. You can sit around and damn, everything's messed up now. I guess we got to disband. No, we don't. Hank passed away, and I was very sorry about that. I saw everyone a week or a few days before they passed. Mr. Robinson, Mrs. Robinson, Joey, David Gunthorpe, Joey's right-hand man, and Hank. I saw them all days before they passed. And got a little hard to get used to with Hank, but we there was no doubt that we weren't going to stop. We had some music to do and some paper to make.
Also too, the thing about Hank, was that he was always a part of Mike and myself because of the fact that nobody will ever experience what Mike, Hank, and myself have experienced. Nobody else can speak to that. Being the first people to do this, to be the first, the shot that the world heard. So our bond is eternal. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we had actually kind of put ourselves in another setting. We were already working with T-Dynasty and N.W.A by the time Hank started, when Hank was getting when Hank was getting sick. So
yeah,
we already had the formula of what we were doing. It was just that we lost somebody who was extremely important and a very intricate part of the creation of what we're doing today. That's really what it was.
Right. Yeah, if it wasn't for Big Bang Hank, there would have been no T-Dynasty in this group. Because it was Hank who it was Hank and I who got together, and Hank brought me in, and that was my dude.
Right.
He was the reason why I'm here. And
right.
Then,
so we were already on though. We were up and running, and doing our own thing.
The crazy thing is, me and T Dynasty are cousins. We found out.
Yeah.
And he used to come to our house, me and Hank, and hang out with Hank. And we kept talking and joking and laughing. And then one day, Diamond knocked on the door, walked in, and came to my room. I said, "Oh, okay. All right, yeah, we hanging out." And then he didn't get drunk one day and threw up and went to the hospital.
Wow. Wow.
Rough night there, brother.
We all miss
Wow.
Big Banky. Yeah, no doubt, no question.
Big Banky.
Diggity dog in the place to be.
So moving us forward, G, we were talking earlier before we started recording, we were talking about that when I saw you, which was you actually remembered the weekend, not only because of what I was wearing that night in front of the stage, dressed as Borat, but that was the weekend where you said really kind of you went to Atlanta that weekend.
Yeah.
And talk about what happened that weekend, what occurred, and then how that has moved the band forward.
Well, actually, what at that point we had kind of decided that we were going to be proactive with letting people know that we were a force to be reckoned with. So we were offered an opportunity to come perform with Kumo D, and we did that. So we ended up going to Atlanta from that show, and we performed on stage. And that performance, because there was actually the other version of Sugarhill scheduled to perform at that same show, us performing on that stage is what promoted the Robinson family, Leland. And so that was part of what helped them say, look, man, let's sit down and work this thing out, because it's better that, we do this thing together than to be apart. And it was one of the greatest moves that's happened for us in our career, especially with building this brand again. I tell people the first thing we had to do was repair the brand. And now we're on the road to rebuilding the brand and putting it into, the stratosphere. And so that's really what was pivotal about that weekend.
And you had said for a period before, up until then, you were performing as Rapper's Delight, correct?
So initially initially when Mike and I put the group back together, we were going out as original members, formerly of, because at that point we were told legally that we could say that, and we did that. And then in 2010, we went into a settlement agreement with Joey Robinson, and it prohibited us from using the name Sugarhill Gang in any likeness or form and to advertise. So we were working to rebrand ourselves by calling ourselves Rapper's Delight. So we were going out as Rapper's Delight, and that was another hill that we had to climb. And at that point, as I said, once we got to the point where it just didn't make sense to keep on going through the changes, and then again, like I tell people, shout out to Leland Robinson. He was very proactive. He was very proactive with saying, hey man, let's sit down and hash out, the necessary details to make this thing work. And, we're stronger together. We're stronger together than we've ever been apart. We're better now than we've ever been.
He always have been the one who wanted to say, let's sit down and work it out. He tried to get his brother to do it, but unfortunately, Joey never saw it that way.
Right. And part of the story was originally told in you guys basically developed your own version of Behind the Music with Roger Paradiso and basically told this story in documentary fashion yourself, right?
Yes, I Want My Name Back. We did a documentary. The documentary was called I Want My Name Back. And like you said, it told the good, the bad, and the ugly up to the point of where we were at. But that's another reason why we're looking forward to doing the things that we're doing in the projects that we have now, because, the situation is completely different. Everything has been, taken care of, handled financially to, names to, a business relationship. And so now we want to do behind the scenes to let people know, because there's still people out there that think, that it's not happening. And, I make sure I let people know that, no, the situation is totally different. We're business partners. Leland Robinson and this entity, we do business on a daily basis. We speak regularly. We've done some phenomenal things, very successful. And so, yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm curious, flashing forward however many, 50 years, when you look out in the crowd today, rap has changed so much from the beats to the topical nature of what people are singing about. What's the composition of your crowd today? Is it, old fuckers like me? Or do you have this kind of like unique blend and everything in between, where you got young people,
literally people. 4 to 84.
Yep.
Yeah, literally
unique blend, man. Unique blend. Yeah.
White, black.
Just give you a prime example, right? We had a show down in was it South Jersey? I think it was South Jersey somewhere, right? And I looked at the contract and it said, kids graduation. So I said, yo, you know what? I said, it's the parents. The parents wanted us to come perform.
That was Bethesda, Diggy. That was Bethesda. Bethesda, Maryland.
Yeah,
Bethesda, Maryland.
It couldn't be for the kids.
It was a high school graduation party. Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. So we have gotten, what you have to understand is, like you said, so you have cats that grew up with the music like yourself. Then you have the evolution of the music through television and commercials and movies, so you have that situation. And then you have the explosion of Will Smith and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So what happened with Apache, that literally is what changed the dynamic of a lot of what we do today. The record is still Apache. It's still the same original performances that Mike, Hank, and myself recorded. The record's 40-something years old, but it's so popular with another generation that because they are familiar with the jump on it part, they renamed the same record. Same masters, same vocals, same performance. It just got a new name. And that's how powerful, the music is and become. So the fan base is that. You name it, they come.
Yeah. And let's also not forget all the artists, very relevant modern artists that have sampled your music,
or covered it.
Or covered it. Busta Rhymes. I mean, Lil Kim, 50 Cent, whatever you want to.
Sprite just did a commercial with Nas and Rakim and the new girl. What's her name? She's
Paper. Paper. That's her name.
Paper.
Why are you listening to Mike?
Yeah, Mike just wants money, man. That's it. So you guys are now performing. You mentioned Mexico. You mentioned Bethesda, Maryland. I mean, who doesn't love Bethesda, Maryland? But things are good.
Things are great. Things are great. We're very thankful. We're very thankful.
Spring.
But you guys feel like you're in a good place, and I mean, the future is is bright for the Sugarhill gang?
100%.
Woo!
Yes. Yeah, we've got so many opportunities in front of us, and the major force and the major factor again is we're gonna keep on going back to what I said when we first started talking. We got each other, you know, and every one of us, we enjoy doing our thing. And the opportunity, you know, you got to look at like where this is, you know, music and entertainment is like the pro sports. You got 1% of millions and millions and millions and millions of people that get the opportunity to do what we do on our level. So, you know, the fact that we can do that together on a high level, sustain our lifestyles and do what we do, we're very, very thankful, man. And we truly feel privileged to do what we do. And that's the common denominator. That's always going to be the thing. We're going to give the people what they want because the people gave us what we want.
Yes,
nobody has to be dragged to anything. An interview, a show, a dress rehearsal, nothing, because we like what we do.
Yeah. I mean, we had a #1 record with Bob Sinclair called the La La Song that went #1 overseas. So, you know, that's proof right there that we're still relevant. We can still, you know, do our thing. We give the people what they want. We're still in demand. I get calls, you know, every day for shows. People wanting to book us. So we're doing our thing, man. God is good. We the people's champ.
Right on, fellas. It's a beautiful thing. Wonder Mike, Master G, Hen Dog, T-Dynasty. Thank you so much for being
thank you, brother.
On the Loadout.
Thank you, brother.
It's been a real privilege, and you know, only the best. And you make sure you hit St. Louis. I'm gonna come catch you again.
No doubt,
we'll
brother.
Be there.
Hey,
we'll be there.
Just don't wear that thing, man.
We'll make sure it's Halloween, but you got to wear something else.
I need a new costume, homie.
Yo, T, my wife agrees with you 100%, man. So
all right, man. Be cool.
All right.
Peace out.